The House on Blackwood Road. Chapter 2, The Neighbor's Silence. If you missed the Chapter 1, go link on the description below. Emma stared at the attic door for what felt like forever. The faint creak of the rocking chair echoed from above like a heartbeat. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the sound stopped. When she finally built up the courage to step closer, she realized Daniel wasn't in the hallway. He was downstairs. She found him asleep on the couch, one arm draped over his eyes, the TV still humming faint static. "Daniel," she whispered, shaking him gently. He stirred. "What time is it?" "It's after 3. Why weren't you in bed?" He frowned, rubbing his temple. "I don't remember falling asleep." Emma's mouth went dry. "Did you go upstairs?" "Upstairs? No." "Why?" She didn't answer. She didn't want to explain the sound of the rocking chair again, not when he would brush it off as another old house thing. The next morning, Emma left early for town. Blackwood was small, a main street lined with modest shops, an old gas station, a post office, and a cafe that looked like it hadn't changed in decades. She parked the car and walked to the cafe, hoping to feel normal again, to shake off the cold weight that seemed to follow her around the house. The woman behind the counter had kind eyes and silver-streaked hair pulled into a bun. "What can I get for you, dear?" "Just a coffee. Black. And, I just moved into town," Emma said, trying to sound casual. The old house on Blackwood Road. The woman's hand froze mid-air. Her expression didn't change much, but something flickered in her eyes. "That place still standing?" "Yeah, we moved in 2 days ago." The woman slid the cup across the counter a little too quickly. "Well, best of luck to you." Emma forced a laugh. "Thanks." "That's ominous." No one laughed with her. A man sitting by the window folded his newspaper slowly, his gaze fixed on her. A couple at the corner table exchanged a glance. She sat at a small table by the door, but the atmosphere had shifted the moment she'd said Blackwood Road. The conversations in the room dulled to murmurs. It wasn't hostility, it was avoidance, like a shared secret no one wanted to touch. When she left, the woman behind the counter called softly after her, "Don't stay there too long." Outside, the air was crisp, the sky the dull gray of a winter morning. Emma walked down the street and spotted a small antique shop. A hand-painted sign above the door read, "Galloway's Antiques and Oddities." The bell jingled as she stepped inside. The smell of old wood and polished brass filled the air. An elderly man behind the counter peered at her over thin glasses. "You're new," he said. "Yes, Emma Morgan. My husband and I moved into the house on Blackwood Road," he finished for her. She blinked. "Yeah." His expression darkened slightly, but his tone stayed even. "People don't usually stay there long." "Why?" He tapped the counter absently with his fingers. "You should talk to old Mrs. Holloway. She lives near the bend of Blackwood. She's seen things." Emma hesitated. "What kind of things?" He gave a tired smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. "Best you hear it from her." The Holloway house sat just a 10-minute walk down the road from their property. It was smaller, a squat brick house with lace curtains and wind chimes that clinked softly in the breeze. Emma felt foolish walking up to the door. What was she even going to say? "Hi, I'm your new neighbor. Is my house cursed?" Before she could knock, the door creaked open. An old woman with sharp blue eyes stared out at her. "You must be the one who moved in," she said. Emma startled. Yes, I'm Emma." The woman didn't smile, but she stepped aside. "Come in. You've got that look." "What look?" "The look people get when the house starts talking." The Holloway living room was neat, filled with the scent of lavender and wood polish. Mrs. Holloway poured tea with practiced hands. Her age showed in the lines on her face, but her eyes were alert, too alert. "You should know," she began, "people have lived in that house before." "But not for long." Emma tried to keep her voice steady. "Why?" The woman's hands trembled just slightly as she set the teapot down. "Because the house is not empty. It hasn't been empty since 1941. Emma's heart began to beat faster. What happened in 1941? A man named Joseph Clay bought that property. Nice man at first. Had money. Adopted children, orphans, they said. The war made plenty of those. People thought he was a saint. Mrs. Holloway's voice lowered. Then the children started disappearing. The wind chimes outside tinkled softly. No one ever saw them again. The police searched, of course. But the house, well, there are places in that house they never found. Places that aren't on the plans." Emma swallowed hard. "Like the basement." The woman's gaze flicked up sharply. "You've been down there?" "No, but the dog refuses to go near it." "Smart animal," Mrs. Holloway muttered. Clay died in that house. Alone. They say he went mad after the last child went missing. Some folks claimed they heard children singing at night for weeks after. Did they find? Emma struggled to finish the question. Anything? The old woman shook her head slowly. No bodies. No graves. Just silence. The clock on the mantel ticked too loudly. Emma stood, clutching her coat a little tighter. Thank you for telling me. As she reached the door, Mrs. Holloway called after her, if the house starts whispering your name, don't wait. Daniel was in the garage when she got home, sleeves rolled up, a wrench in hand. He looked bright, focused, like someone living a completely different reality. Where've you been? He asked, smiling. Town, Emma said quietly. Met a neighbor. Yeah? He wiped his hands on a rag. Anyone normal out here? She told me about the house. He paused, smile fading just slightly. She said a man used to live here. Joseph Clay. Kids disappeared. No one talks about it, Dan. Urban legends. Every small town has them. No, this felt different. Everyone in that cafe got quiet the second I said Blackwood Road. Daniel set the wrench down. We can't start freaking ourselves out over stories. It's just an old house. It's our house now. Emma wanted to believe him. She really did, but as she turned toward the house, she saw something in the upstairs window, a flicker of movement. A shadow, too quick to make sense of. That night, the wind howled through the pines like distant crying. Emma couldn't sleep. Her mind kept returning to Mrs. Holloway's words. She turned over. Daniel's side of the bed was empty. Daniel? She whispered. No response. She pushed the blanket aside and stepped into the hallway. The floorboards groaned softly beneath her feet. A thin slice of light spilled out from under the basement door. Her breath caught. The light shouldn't have been on. She descended the stairs slowly, gripping the banister. Milo whimpered softly upstairs but didn't follow. When she reached the door, the cold draft was stronger this time. It smelled like damp earth again, and something else. Metallic, like rust, or blood. Daniel? She pushed the door open. The basement light swung on a single frayed wire. Daniel was standing in the middle of the floor, barefoot, wearing only his t-shirt and boxers. His eyes were open but unfocused, as if he were still asleep. Daniel, she whispered, what are you doing down here? He didn't answer. She stepped closer, every nerve in her body screaming to stop. His lips were moving, barely, just a soft murmur she couldn't make out. Daniel? Finally, he blinked, looked at her, confused. What are you doing down here? I should be asking you that. He rubbed his forehead. I don't know how I got here. Emma grabbed his arm and led him upstairs, locking the basement door behind them. The next morning, Daniel claimed he didn't remember anything. Sleepwalking, he said with a forced laugh. That's all it was. Emma didn't laugh, because when she went back downstairs after he left for work, the basement floor was damp. And there were small, bare footprints leading from the far wall to the foot of the stairs. Child-sized footprints. That afternoon, Emma decided to return to the attic. She climbed the creaking stairs, flashlight in hand. The rocking chair was still there, motionless this time. She stepped closer. On the floor, where the toy block had been, something new lay in its place. A small shoe, leather cracked with age, tied with a frayed ribbon. A chill prickled the back of her neck. She turned to leave, but froze. Pressed into the dust on the floor, leading away from the shoe, were two sets of tiny footprints that stopped near the window. Stay tuned. The other stopped directly behind where she was standing. Emma didn't turn around. She walked down the stairs as fast as she could, her heartbeat roaring in her ears. That evening, she told Daniel everything, the shoe, the prints, the neighbor's warning. He tried to hide the unease in his voice but couldn't. I'm calling the landlord tomorrow, he said. We'll ask about the history, maybe even get someone to check out the place. If there's some explanation. But the explanation didn't matter anymore. Because just then, something fell upstairs. A single, heavy thud, followed by the unmistakable sound of the rocking chair creaking again. Daniel grabbed a flashlight. Stay here. But Emma followed anyway. When they reached the top of the stairs, the attic door was wide open. The chair rocked violently as if someone had just leapt from it. And carved into the wooden beam above the window, jagged and fresh, were 3 words, under the floor. To be continued, Chapter 3. Please subscribe and stay tuned.